recess.
Second.
Motion by Lundin, second by Peterson. We're out of recess. Oh, wait, any opposed? All in favor? Any opposed? Whatever.
All in favor,
All in
say
favor,
aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. We will go back into,
Website.
yeah, we got the rain gardens done, so website upgrade discussion.
Alrighty. So, we've had a few discussions over the past about our current website. There's some challenges with it. I did include some, not an all-inclusive list in the memo, but challenges from the public's view.
Josie, can you move your mic closer?
Thank you.
And I turned all the fans on now because so challenges with the current website from the public's view and what they interact with is it's difficult to find information through the search function. When you search for things within our website, it finds old embedded information that staff is not able to remove just because of the limitations of the current website. We also cannot change the date of the page without recreating a new page. So even if you have an event and the event can have new information, it'll show posted at maybe 2017 because that's when we first created the page, which can be confusing for people. The search bar, there's limited integration for outside applications, confusing for people on where to click between the news, social media, project, proposed ordinance section, and just in general, it's kind of difficult to navigate. The issues that we have on the staff's perspective of it on the back end is when you post an article or any information on it, it needs to be updated within a cabinet. So it's almost like doing everything twice. There's no drag and drop option. There's a lot of challenges with that. To enter a contract onto a page, staff must create a personal profile to be able to do things. There's limited ability to personalize the format of a page, limited availability to decide how things are added on the menu or list, limited integration of outside apps that can help, things like our Civic Ready, limited upload flexibility, and as I mentioned, no drag and drop feature. So we've had these challenges for a while. When we first implemented this website that we currently have, we did take the cheapest option through Civic Plus. There was a bunch of websites that were evaluated, and there was a tiered system. You could go with this package, or this package. We took the cheapest package option at the time, and I think that is sometimes by design of salespeople, and you ask, well, can we do this? Can we change the buttons? Can we do this? Can we do that? No, not unless you upgrade. But you can if you upgrade. So we got told that a lot, and so you just make do with the best that you have, right? So one thing through this process that I learned actually just last week is that the current website that we have through Civic Plus has Web Open as its platform, and that is becoming obsolete. So even if we weren't discussing our website and looking at alternatives, we would have to do something by September 2025 because that platform is no longer supported by Civic Plus. We'd have to go to Web Central. So, and also included in your memo, the current cost of our website is $3,670 per year. I wanted to add, in addition to that, what we pay for Civic Ready, which is the text notification, which is $2,625.84. That's a lot larger number than you probably remember because there was a huge $600 increase in 2025. So I wanted to make sure that was known to council because I'm going to recommend that we get rid of that and use something else in its place just because of that cost increase and then what is it going to be next year. I did make sure that both websites are going to be able to take care of our website accessibility for WSAG 2.2 AA. That's where we have to follow different protocol and standards for visually and hearing impaired. I will say, though, there are additional ADA compliance laws that we have to abide by for the city our size. In 2027 will be our deadline. That cost will be in addition to this when we get further down the road because there's a lot more you have to do. You have to be able to have every PDF in your website and every form has to be able to be read through a reader for the visually impaired. So it doesn't include that. So just let you know, no matter which website option we go with, that will be in addition down the road. So I did include in your memo some features between Revise and Civic Plus. I'm going to focus more on the table that I created because that is an easy to show comparison. So Revise is a new website. I would say that there's a lot of cities, typically smaller cities, that use that. If we were going to switch over to them, it'd be 21 to 27 weeks for implementation. The new website implementation costs, because we have to port everything into it, and we actually would not have them drag everything into it. We would pick and choose. One of the things that staff realizes part of the problem with our current website is we ported over everything, and it took everything good and bad with it into the new website. I think that that was a detriment to the content that we have on there. So we'd be much more engaged and purposeful of exactly what went onto the new website. One thing that Revise does, Civic Plus does not with their new Web Central, is that they are willing to spread the cost of the implementation over 5 years. So that comes to $3,137. They do include a custom website after 60 months or 5 years. Contract term is 5 years. The annual base of fee going year after year after that implementation is $1,800. Again, what we currently pay is about $3,600. They do have add-ons that you can add. I do have some highlighted, which is in the table below. The add-ons that I think that are important that we would need to consider would be a text email notification. This would be in place or in lieu of the Civic Ready that we currently have. With Revise, that's $950. Civic Plus does include it in theirs. Also, there's a Citizen Request Center. One thing that I think that we are really missing within our website is a way for people, and we heard actual evidence of that of Mr. Kohler this evening, is you can send in a blank email through the notification of the website, and sometimes it just gets lost to the abyss. This will allow for there to be actual staff people emailed. So that's a great advantage that we don't have, to be able to follow up and interact with people who have concerns. And then there's a forms builder, which also does the rerouting of things too. So if you look at those, just the 3 highlighted add-ons, the cost of that would be $15,685, including the implementation costs, which was the $66.85. And then I break it down, what would that cost would be 5 years down the road. Because it's important to look at not the price right now, but how that's going to impact us later. So Civic Plus with their Web Central, theirs would be, this is the other one we're comparing against, would be 16 to 28 weeks of implementation, $6,500. That actually is the annual cost. They don't have an implementation cost like Revise does because we currently use them. But the cost is much higher, obviously. They don't spread it over 5 years. If you do want to do a custom redesign after 5 years, they charge you $1,300 per year.
I did have a question on the will spread over 5-year contract. If you do the math on that, they must be charging a premium for that because the $3,137 per year comes out to, what is that, roughly $15,800, while you only have $6,700 for the implementation and $1,800 for the...
$1,800 is included in that $3,137.
Right, but that's still only $8,500 versus the, what would it be, roughly $16,000 if we spread it over 5 years. So that must be a finance cost?
Nope,
Or is
there's
that-
no financing in that. Hold on, let me pull up there.
The math ain't mathin'.
If you subtract 1,800 from 3,137, it's 1,337 times 5 is $6,685.
Okay, so okay, I see how that works. Okay,
But there's no financing for that.
yeah, yeah, including
It's just
18,
because the $1,800, that's your
1,800
annual
per
cost
year.
is rolled into that
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yep. So as I mentioned with Civic, they have their annual base fee is $6,500 per year, so that's not quite double, but it's getting close. The annual preferred with the add-ons, comparing the same 3 add-ons, is only $350 per year because some of them are included. But then you can see the cost after 5 years is $32,500. And then with add-ons, it gets to $34,250. So do I think that the Civic Plus Web Central option gives us more? I do, but it comes at a little bit more of a cost. So looking for direction, I can provide some links if you're interested in finding out like what they look like in other cities. I have some examples. I can ask for some demos that I can send out to council, and just looking for your feedback and direction, what you're looking to do.
So the Civic Plus, that's what you would prefer, even though that's what we have now and it's been abysmal?
No, I actually recommend Revise. If
I
you
was
were to
gonna
ask
say,
me.
I was gonna say, by looking at Revise, when you look at like the 5-year costs is half, if not more. And then you look at cost after 5 years is still almost 10 grand less. Even though we're paying for the text and email notifications and then the form builders and a little bit more here and there, to me, I think that Revise is a better plan.
That's why I
Yeah.
asked, if you
Yeah,
had a
I do think
preference.
Revise, I think if you want to have lots of bells and whistles, I think that Civic Plus is a great option. Do I think that Revise is going to give us what we need and it's better than our current website? Absolutely. But I do know that, sometimes there might be things that you want to add in down the road. What you see here is basically what you get with Revise.
Do you have an example of things that we might want to add that Revise doesn't have an option to do? Is that,
No, not, yes, I will say, the only thing that they didn't have that would nice to have with the website that's able to be embedded would be an agenda packet management system. So we currently use one through Granicus called Peak. That's what UCI legislate through. We are exploring other things besides that, just to see if there's alternatives, again, just to compare things. But that is something that they currently don't offer, but I was told that they are working to get it because they have a lot of requests. So I'm hopeful that that will come, because it'd be nice to have one platform that does everything.
so Civic Plus does have that capability to do the agenda stuff that you just mentioned?
They do, but you pay in addition.
Okay.
And I wasn't able to get a price for that because that's a separate, I have to go through another salesperson with another demo.
Okay.
And I wasn't able to get that before the meeting.
I think that Revise is our better bet. And
Financially
it sounds
and,
like they're a progressive enough company that they want to get better and better and better at what
Right.
they do.
versus Civic Plus, I think all their stuff's been dated for as long as we've used them, so.
And if you add the cost of the current website with the Civic Ready, it's $6,295 and a little bit of change. So we will be saving quite a bit of money,
Okay.
but we have to make sure that we add the add-on to the text and email notifications to the revised website. The other thing I will add to that, depending on how many texts you send per month, you do pay additional. So
Wasn't it 300 or some,
I think this one, Revise had, I think it was, actually, I think I wrote it down.
is that per text send out or per phone number?
On this one, it wasn't, it was just 500, I think it was additional text. And then if you went to the next level of like 1,000, it was an additional $250. So, but we're not sending that many texts out.
So say if we had 50 people signed up, we could send up to 10 texts a month and still be,
Within that $950, yep.
okay.
Yep, I can pull it up too if you want exactly how much it would cost.
No, I think that's all
I think
right.
even without that, it's still a better option for the city to save money. The one thing with the Civic Ready, I mean, aside from their cost increase this year, is they do a lot more things that we just don't use it for because we don't have that many emergencies, right? We're using it for non-emergency notifications, but it's designed to be able to tag a map to it, put geofencing around your emergency. We haven't been using that function of it.
Sure.
I think Revise is our better bet.
This is one line item you guys probably won't agree with me on, but this is one thing we shouldn't skimp on. It's the face of our city. Our our webpage has been, in my opinion, horrible for years.
Well, then why go
And
with
it
the
really-
civic company that?
Right,
yeah,
it's
that
been
we already
really hard
have?
to navigate. How many different software companies have you reached out to, or web hosting companies have you just looked at a couple? I mean, is there something even better that might only be an extra 5,000 a year or something? Just
I
throwing
can
a number
continue to
out.
look. I looked at 4 originally. I started this process probably 6 months ago, so I'd have to
Okay.
look back to see the other ones. With Revise, Ms. Hillesheim used that in another city that she was in, so I was able to have some firsthand experience of knowing that it was user-friendly from the staff's perspective of it, as well as effective.
And it has unlimited changes, you said, or is that an extra
No.
cost?
Once you do the implementation, after 5 years, you get a change to your website at no cost, after 5 years.
And how much is a change? Not like a change in the whole website, but adding or deleting categories
Adding and
and
deleting, we can
things
do
like that?
daily from staff. Staff will be able to do that.
Oh,
It's just if
okay.
you wanted to change the entire layout of the
Oh.
whole website.
Okay, the layout
um,
itself.
Right, but content creating, and adding banners and, calendar, I will say the calendar
Okay.
is more advanced with Civic Plus. If you want to have that your agendas are tied to your calendar date for meetings, very cool feature, but I'm not sure if that's worth the money for it, but that is, they do have some more things like that. Yeah.
You have input on this? You're IT guy. a
I
little
want to
bit.
see some examples of the two different sites, so I'd appreciate the links to look at them. But one thing I know that's been broken on Civic Plus for a long time is the iCal. Do you know if Revise has that as a feature, or?
I know that they have RSS. I'm not sure if that was specifically in there. I can look into it though.
Because I know our site now has iCal and it's been non-functional for a long time.
I can look into it.
Okay, thank you.
I think cost-wise, the first option, Revise, looks better. And I'd say just leave it up to you guys on what you think would work best for us, and come back with the links and whatnot.
Yeah, I would say whatever the staff recommends, you're the one uploading and changing stuff on that.
Yeah, we really need a user-friendly website and easy to, go through, find ordinances, or it's just hard to navigate. I've always had a hard time navigating.
I think the reason for that is because we are so limited. Staff can't change where the lists
Sure.
are. Staff can't change how this menu is laid out. So these websites should be better.
Did Revise have a demo on the back side they were able to see, but not the front facing, but you're able to see how the back end works?
I've watched demos on both. Yeah.
Okay. And no concerns?
I love drag and drop. We can't
Okay.
drag and drop, which that sounds so simple of a, why would that matter? But it is an incredible amount of time when you have to upload a file to a cabinet within a department, within this subfolder, and then when you go to the page that you want to add it to, you have to go to that same subfolder within the cabinet and pull it to upload it. If you can drag it from your desktop in, it will save a ton of time, and they both do that. Civic has now implemented that.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion?
I'll continue to move forward, and I will put together demos for some of those add-ons, so you can see those. There's some other cities, and then it'll show some examples. So not all the links have all the different add-ons, but I'll highlight which cities have which add-ons, so you can see which ones you think are worth adding up or paying for.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to E6, Chapter 87, Animals, Chicken Discussion. So I had brought this forward. There were some people that had asked for maybe considering allowing a couple more chickens, as well as someone that wanted me to look into the chicken coop and run size. I believe we have a 60 square foot total rule for the coop and the chicken run, and that is actually under the recommended size for chickens. It also seemed very small. If you have 6 chickens, 60 square feet, that's not very big for them to live in and sleep in all day, every day. So I would like to see us, increase the amount of size that you can have for a coop and a chicken run. The recommended is 12 square feet. We're at 10. I've seen some cities go as high as 20 square feet. So I didn't know if that was something that we could talk about. If you look at, dog kennels, there are some dog kennels that are, twice the size of 60 square feet, and it shouldn't really matter what animal's housed in a cage or a kennel to me. So I'm not sure if that's something that we want to look into changing, but I guess I would rather see a couple more chickens as a possibility too, for people if they so choose.
I'm okay with changing
I'm
it.
sorry, Mayor, I was just pulling up the ordinance. What did you say the requirement? So we have be no more than 10 square feet per chicken? And
Right.
we have you want bigger square foot per
Yes.
chicken? Because I don't see actually within our ordinance currently that we have a maximum
Well,
on the
if it's,
size.
if it's 6 chickens and you can only have 10 square feet per chicken, it's implied it's 60 square foot max. You see the math, yeah. So I would, I think 8 chickens is a little more appropriate. I think a lot more people are getting into chickens. I've seen a lot more chickens around town in the last 2 years which is great, and I don't think we've had any complaints.
I'm sure they're all thankful right now, too.
Yeah, so it's, and if 12 square feet is the recommended, and like I said, I've seen some cities at as high as 20, and we're a pretty, I would consider us a rural city, almost. So I don't know if that's something we could discuss, if.
I wouldn't have any problem going to 12 square feet, but I don't want to go up to 20 square feet. There's-
Right, that's too much.
I see, I just see too many people with too much shit in their yards. I hate to tell you.
Sure.
I go out on my new deck and I look at 2 houses down and it looks like a flipping bomb went off back there. And it does affect my property.
I think 12 square feet is
I
fine.
just think 12 square feet is more, I agree. I have no problem with, if you want to up your size of your chicken, but I am not, roosters are not, no.
No,
I agree 100%.
Can't
No
do roosters
roosters.
inside the city.
But I'd rather have 50 chickens in my neighbor's yard than one tiny little dog that never shuts up in their backyard. Let me tell you something. How many complaints do you get about dogs in the city there, Travis?
Dogs, yes. Chickens, no.
Exactly. Making the city more peaceful. But no, I could go either 8 or 10, but
Okay.
I definitely think you can increase the size. Would you be willing to split it between 10 and 20 and go 15?
Yeah,
I wouldn't go any more than that.
Yeah, that's-
I
yeah.
would not go any more than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you have to, you have to also keep in consideration, everything that we make changes here affects somebody that doesn't want all those changes done. So you have to meet in a happy medium middle. You can't, like I said, I drive by some houses, one in my house, and there's 15 flipping cars in their yard, and there ain't no grass, and it's all nothing but mud, and it's dragging it out on the street. It drives me nuts.
And
Because
that
it
is
does
against
affect my property.
That is against ordinance, that one.
Right, so we're-
Yeah.
Well, it is and it isn't.
Let's get back to the chickens.
So I'm just saying is, what I'm saying is, everything decision we make doesn't just affect the person that wants the change. It affects the people that don't want to see a lot of changes. So you got to remember, for every one that you say it's okay for, there may be 2 or 3 that don't want it.
Have we had any complaints whatsoever about the size of a chicken run or any complaints about chickens whatsoever?
Not that I'm aware of.
Someone complained to me that it was inhumane that they didn't have more space.
We've had complaints of loose chickens,
Yeah,
but
that
we
happens.
haven't had no complaints on the size of chicken coops.
Okay.
I mean,
So it does look like if we go up to 15 square feet per chicken, if we leave the numbers as is written, which is 6 chickens for less than 3-acre lot, 12 chickens for more than 3 acres, it still fits within that accessory structure size. Is there a desire to increase those numbers?
I would say to add a few more chickens, because I don't know if anybody caught the news, there was a place in Anoka that had a huge showing for chickens when they came in. They were down the main road, and they had to have somebody come in and direct traffic
Oh, yeah.
to get chickens. So I don't know what's going on, but there's a big push for rural America right now.
yes, there is.
There is.
Well,
I have no problem. I think I like Merrill's 8, and I'll go along with you, 15 square feet. I think we're good with that.
So
Well,
8 chickens of less than 3 acres?
Yes.
And then for lots more than 3 acres, how many? Currently
I
it's
don't-
12?
Do we have residential lots with more?
We do.
if it's
Yeah.
more than 3 acres, they should be able to have 20,
20?
40 square feet, I
You
would
gotta,
think, per
you
chicken.
gotta remember, most places in Isani is a 1/4 acre lot.
Right.
Right.
And you can only put so much on a 1/4 acre lot. I don't disagree with you. 3 acres? That's like literally the whole block.
Right, I mean, they should be able to have, I don't even think there should be a restriction on the size of their chicken run or coop.
Well, at a certain point,
It's my own
it becomes a
opinion.
building, doesn't it?
Right.
What?
At a certain point, you become a building, and then you have to abide by building permits. So
it's just
either
a-
below that, then,
Well, we're just talking a fenced-in area for the chickens.
right, but at a certain point, a fence becomes like a border fence or a property fence, and then it has a permit for that. So if you make your whole backyard chicken runs, you have to do a fence permit,
Well,
then,
there are setbacks in the ordinance, so they
Right.
still got those setbacks. But yeah, if somebody really wanted to fence in, 2 acres of their 3, yeah, they would be, you could do that, I guess.
Be a lot of money in fencing.
Exactly, yeah.
why, my question would be, why limit it to 8 though? Like, not tied to the amount of occupants or not tied to the lot size, why go from 6 to 8 as opposed to 6 to 12 or 6 to?
Yeah, what's reasonable? That's why I brought it up. What's a reasonable number?
8 chickens per acre?
Yeah, but then what about a quarter acre? Does that mean only 2?
Because like if the average lot is a quarter, I have 2/3, so why have the same limitation when I have way more of a yard than someone with a
Sure.
smaller lot? I'm not at 3 acres, but.
I guess I was just trying to get, my opinion is when, there's a big push for it, increase it, and I'm sure this is gonna be a fad, it's gonna go back the other way, and you can readjust, years down the road. But I would say increasing it slowly and allowing more variance, when demand is going up for the product or whatever you wanna say. That was just my thought. I didn't wanna go too sky high, but within reason, I guess.
I don't think 8 chickens and going 15 square feet per chicken, I don't think that's unrealistic.
Right.
And then, I don't know what you wanna do about, 3 acres or more.
I was thinking about it as you were talking. Really, anything over X amount of chickens, and I'm not sure what that would be, would be considered more of a commercial thing. And I guess though, if you have 3 acres, you should be allowed to do something like that. So I don't know.
It isn't like we have 100 lots in Isani that are 3 acres or
Right.
more.
Probably 5.
Just limit it to, what's the rule on it right now, over 3 acres?
12.
Double it, 24 for 3
Yeah.
acres. I don't think that's unrealistic.
No.
I wouldn't complain about that one iota. Hey, I got a
I'd like
flip
to
a
see it a
peacock that's
little,
not even
actually, I'd
supposed
like
to
to see it a little lower. Only
20?
because if somebody has some neighbors within 3 and they're not cleaning out their coop all the time, that smell can, 20 chickens can,
be. You could smell those pigs out
Yeah.
on 56 in Isani.
I do think that we're gonna wanna stay within the 50 animal units, which I believe would be defined as a feedlot. We don't wanna have any feedlots that could be opened up within the city of Iceni limits, because that just opens a whole nother can of worms. So I definitely don't think you wanna have it unlimited, not that we're going there, but just to let you know for that. Because then you got rules at the county level, and we have whole new ordinances that we need to be looking at. So there would be a threshold. that you-
George, what do you want on 3 acres?
20?
I would see 20 is more than enough.
Okay, I'm good with it. I mean, we could beat this down the street
Right.
for
Yeah.
16 hours.
20, I mean, I'm happy with my 3. That's all I got right now, so.
But you can add,
Yeah, Josie, I know.
you can add to your flock now.
So I thought it was really interesting.
You
I
have a
was,
dozen, what's a dozen more, really?
right. I was talking to somebody and they wanted to enclose underneath their deck. It had a 10 by 10 deck. I was like, that's a good use for,
Yeah, but you can enclose underneath that?
well, not enclosed, but you fence it in,
Yeah.
so then you can use your deck, and it was 10 by 10, and technically it would have been over the ordinance. So now, if we do that, it allows people to do that under their deck if
Right.
they want, because then you already have the upper structure, which is the most expensive part. So,
You're fine. And they'll definitely keep their coop clean.
yeah,
See, yeah.
Yep.
so,
I'm good with those changes.
so 8 and 15, and then 20 on the bigger
15.
lots.
Or, yeah, 20.
Yeah.
And 20 on 3 acres or more.
8 chickens, 15 square foot per chicken, anything over 3 acres, 20 chickens in the same 15 square foot, or do we keep it?
Same 15, I think
Okay.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's more humane to the chickens, so,
Yeah.
People want free range,
right,
so it helps out with,
Fertilizer.
yeah.
yep. All right, well, that sounds good. I guess we would have to draft something on that and then bring it back for approval at a council meeting.
Yep, that'll be an ordinance amendment that Ms. Heldstein will take this one and she'll bring it back.
And if anybody's listening and they don't like it or they want to see something change, make sure they come in. or talk to us
I
or
want
whatever.
12, but,
What's that?
I want 12, but,
You want 12 chickens?
yes.
Oh, boy. I mean, do we want to discuss 10?
Or maybe create another mid-level. Like I said, I'm unique and I have 2/3 of an acre.
Right.
So
But
if
that's
we're,
still-
if we're planning on the small side for a 1/4 acre lot, have something for like a 1/4 acre lot size and then something in between.
So over a half acre?
Yeah. Maybe between half and 3, because that's a pretty big variance from a 1/4 acre lot.
Yeah, it's twice the size.
You
Well,
got a
when you
question
raise
in
the
the
amount-
audience.
When you
Oh.
raise the amount of chickens, you have to raise the amount of space that they're.
Janelle, you can come on up, please. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
of course.
formula.
State your name and address. You know the drill.
Janelle Van Fleet, 508 Mullion Loop. I have 6 chickens, and it's in the winter, 6 definitely is not enough.
Right.
Is it not on? Sorry? No, it is not. Is it? Okay. 6 definitely is not enough. I have had it where, I can't eat store-bought chickens, or I can't eat store-bought eggs, because I have a histamine. I don't need to get into that, but, and I've had it where with my 6 chickens, I only get 1 egg a day.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So-
pretty normal in the winter. You-
Right, but if it does go up, I agree, I say what, Nick said, if you can go a little higher, even than the 8, I think that would be really beneficial.
Okay. All right.
And I was gonna add, for the larger locks, if you're having 20 chickens, 15 feet per, but you said 15 feet per chicken, or did you say?
15 feet per chicken.
Square feet,
Per
yep.
feet? So then, okay, so then that should be okay.
Mhm.
Because I was kind of,
Oh, total, you were thinking 15?
I'm like, that is not even close.
Right, right.
But,
Okay.
yeah, so, I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
So I think the number of chickens just depends on how much manure and waste you think that it's gonna become a problem on a small lot, is I think something to take into consideration. The more chickens, the more waste, are you gonna have odor issues?
Do we go maybe 8 on a lot under half, and then 12 on a lot over half acre? I don't know.
Progress?
I'm fine with that, too.
I'm okay with it. Steve?
Most of these
It's,
houses,
like I said, we're gonna beat this to death a million times.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what, 4 years ago, you wouldn't have had a flipping chicken in town, plain and simple.
Thank God that
I
changed.
pushed for that, and it was always told it was gonna be a problem. I don't see any problem with having chickens, but I will tell you this, if one of my neighbors has got 12 flipping chickens and I'm here and cluck them all day long, I'm gonna have chicken for dinner tonight, because I don't need to listen to it.
Some KFC.
I keep my stuff to myself. I don't let my neighbors get under my skin too much, but if I have to put up with a lot of noise, I'm not gonna tolerate it. So you need to, like I said, you give one, you're gonna have 5 that's gonna say that they don't like it. You gotta meet in the middle. I'm just telling you, you gotta meet in the middle. Up to 4 years ago, there was no chickens in town, period.
I'd
I
like
think
to
it would
stay
be
at 8.
easier to enforce if we set it at that 3-acre rule, because most of those parcels, all, if not all of them, are in the R1A rural residential district, and so that's what makes it easy to enforce, like, in different districts. I think a half an acre, we have a lot of lots that are like .49, .51, and so nothing's perfectly accurate, and so I think that's kind of a gray area to make it, I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I would rather just see a few more chickens then, I guess. But you are getting into the realm of the more chickens you have with our accessory dwelling structures, a lot of people are getting away with not having to get a permit because it was 170 square feet or less. And so if we're allowing more chickens, those are now going to become accessory dwelling units, and we'll need to require permitting and that sort of stuff for it.
So 10 at 15 would not require a permit, but 12 would. It's 150 and 180, so maybe 10 is the answer.
That 200 was when you need a building permit.
170.
170 square feet
Okay.
for
So
zoning.
10 it would work.
But if
11
someone
would
wanted
work.
to do the building permit and have it, then what would be the problem with?
has gotten really more in depth than what I ever.
I'll tell you what, I'll go
It always
10,
does.
and we're done with this
10,
discussion.
yeah, I think-
End of discussion.
I
I'll
think
go
it
to
was-
10, and I'll sit, and then we're done.
And we can always revisit if it becomes a problem. I think that's.
I mean, it's,
I think it's a fad. It'll eventually, once egg prices come down, I think it'll go away.
I'm
But
telling you, 10 chickens and how much it's gonna cost to feed those, you're lucky to break even. at
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
I
people
know,
won't,
it's-
some people won't
yep.
do it, and that's.
Right, most people won't, they just want 2, 3 3 chickens will easily feed a family of 6.
Huh?
What?
No?
You get my chickens lay 1 a day in the summertime, so you're looking at 3 times 7, that's 21 eggs every week.
My neighbors,
a lot of
my neighbors
eggs.
have 6.
People eat
and-
every day, though.
Yeah. My neighbors have 6, and sometimes they're lucky if they get 6 eggs, like.
Well,
in
what
like a
happens
week
is the
in
first,
winter.
a 1-year-old will lay every day, and a 2-year-old will lay almost every day. And then once they become 3 and 4 years old, then those numbers drop.
now it becomes stew meat.
By the time they get 5, 6 years old, yeah, you better
Sell
make
'em.
soup and get some
Yeah.
more because you're getting 1 egg out of
Let's just go with the 10, I think. 10 chickens, 15 square feet per chicken. Makes it more humane. And then the 20 per the 3+ acre. Unless anybody's heavily opposed. Seems like a consensus number, so.
I can go with that.
Nick, you okay with that, or you still want more?
I'll be okay for now.
Okay.
Right,
For now. Sounds
Done.
good,
It's better than what it was.
yeah. And I don't think everybody's gonna go out and
No,
get
and-
4 more chickens. It'll be a select few people, and they're probably the ones that are taking better care of their chickens in the first place, so. All right, so that is done for 6. Let's go to business number 7, no parking on Third Avenue East Side.
See any primary
All right,
school?
Mayor and Council, I was approached by Isani Primary School. I've worked with them quite a bit on their traffic plans. They're really good to work with as far as the principal reaching out, how to get their buses in and out. Because all of you that have been around during any time of, well, any school in the town, but that one especially, because has issues with traffic. So they're always revising that, so they're good to work with. He came to me and asked if it'd be possible to have no parking on that east side of Unity, just north of Heritage. Or on Third, just north of Heritage, between Unity and Heritage there. And I went there that one morning just to talk to him, so we were on the same page, and as we were there, there's a dad that parks there, walks his kid across Third in the morning. It's a bad place to park, just on traffic congestion area, anyway, just take that piece out. But part of the school problem, they can only tell people how they want to drop their kids off, and all of you that dropped kids off know that nobody follows those rules anyway. So there's a safety concern too. I mean, just that one time I was there, I'm like, that's an issue, just walking across that road even with a kid at that time of day. So that's a recommendation. I think it's would be a huge safety benefit for the pedestrian piece, because people are stopping there and letting their kids out in that little block, which doesn't make sense to me. And you can park there. And parking there, I mean, if you've gone on Third Avenue at that time with the buses and everything else, it's not a good place to park. We did the one on Unity for the buses, I think, or that was the fire department there for the same thing. But that's just something that's missed. So that's their recommendation. I thought it was a good idea. I agree with them that would be a benefit to the safety as well as congestion issues in that area.
Do you think they'll just park across the highway and then have their kids walking across the road?
Well, the way it's supposed to work, not saying it does, the city has an agreement that they can use that dirt lot on the east side of Third. That's the ideal thing, but it's too far to walk.
Right.
Well, we know it's not too far to walk, but generically, that's too far to walk. Yeah, and then there have been times as far as where there's been cars parked there, just for who knows what reason, they're not, they might be in the school or whatever. Well, a car parked there, which I haven't seen it, but you could park a car there in the morning or in the evening or in the afternoon when school gets out, and that would be kind of a bad place to park. Just that much traffic trying to get on Heritage, I mean, it's a cluster intersection during that
is.
time.
It's a hard school just to get in and out of.
It is, and they're doing the best they can, and I think this will help. And I'm surprised it hasn't been a no parking area already.
I guess I would push, the only negative thing I see is maybe those, because there's two houses
There's
right
two
there.
houses, and I think you could do the same thing with, you know, doing the hours, right?
Yeah, and I was gonna just ask that question, if we could do
Same
no
thing they
parking
kinda did
during
with
school
Unity.
hours.
Yeah, whatever the mimic the signs on Unity, I think they have the morning hours in there generically. The downfall is when the schools change their hours,
Yeah.
but, I mean, we can figure that out. It'd be that morning time frame and the evening time frame.
Yeah, but both those two houses there, the one guy's got a driveway that he could, if somebody's visiting, they could park in it. The one behind it, they could park on that other street.
Park on Third, yeah, the driveways go with Third, there's no driveways onto Unity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't make it no parking. I think it's just gonna make it safer for kids there anyway.
Yeah, there's very few people that actually park there. I never
Very
thought
few.
about it until I saw that.
I didn't think about it either, but like I said, the day I went there to meet with them, I saw it happen.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, that's weird, but yeah, I understand your concerns.
Have they ever thought about, you know, there's that access road to the west of the school. Have they ever thought about utilizing that or widening that to use that as more of a pickup type option?
I
Or
think that gets encroaching to those residents on
Okay.
that
I
house.
mean, they've thought about a lot of stuff, you know, cause it's,
Okay,
what they're doing is as good as they can, and the problem you have is over the last 5 years, well, ever since the COVID time, I mean, there's always a lot of people dropping their kids off, but it seems like it's ridiculous how many people drop their kids off and pick them up. So it's a lot of traffic, and every school has the issues. You know, they did that remodel over on the middle school, which works,
it's still backed up though, all
backs
the way.
up onto 5.
Yep,
Yep, it works-ish, but it does I've seen it back up onto 5. Haven't had any issues with that, but, and you go over on the other side of town, it's just, I mean, it's something that we're never gonna be able to fix, right? Infrastructure-wise, I don't think the school can fix it. Try to make it the best is what we can deal with.
You said the school has an agreement for the dirt lot. Who owns the dirt lot?
City,
Okay,
technically City Park, that baseball field.
yeah.
If this county ever redoes that section by the other school, that, we need that lane, I think you suggested that,
I
having a.
did.
Yes, and definitely needs to be done, hopefully in the future.
Talking about off of Eighth, at the intermediate school or at the middle school? The one
Middle
on,
school,
okay, on the west side of town?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was something that I was
Where they're getting
surprised.
backed up on the 5 now, they need a lane there.
I brought that up at the school board meeting when they were talking about that lot, and I asked, why isn't there a turn lane there? And they said, well, the county hasn't authorized us to do it, so that's something that they definitely need to work on, and same with Eighth, that's gonna be
We should push on,
I don't know what kind of long-term solution you can see here. I mean,
they have a whole new board over there, we might be able to have a chat with them now.
the county,
Yeah,
yeah. So, as far as the parking here, that's,
let's do it.
there's no negatives to doing that, is there really?
No, I mean, the only question then would be is, do you want it no parking Monday through Friday at certain hours, or no
Yeah.
parking all the time? So that would be the only thing.
I would say Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
You want Monday through Friday, or Monday through Friday during certain hours?
Monday through Friday, 6 to 9, and then maybe
So just figure out that.
2 to 4, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
where the school hours, where the
definitely
buses come
covers
We
it.
can get that.
Yeah.
Of
But
course, the
I,
half days, it probably won't cover them if they're there at noon,
But
but
that's not, it's not as big of a deal, because then on the other side during the day, right, that, because it's the west side, how do they have that written there? But it's not as big of a deal during the day for the early childhood stuff. It's just that early morning and the half day, in the evening. So I think if you're on that direction, we can run it with, we'll figure out what the time, I think they have they have those times written on the Unity ones, if I recall, has certain times.
do you think it'd be worth reaching out, sending a letter to those two houses and ask them if they have a need to park there at all during the week? Because it would be much simpler just saying no parking Monday through Friday. And if both of the houses are totally good with it, then that would be the best way to go with it.
But also, if Unity already has signs that say a certain time, it'd be easier to keep it consistent, because it's right in the same spot. You know, otherwise you're gonna tell, well, you can, on Third Avenue, they can get towed all day, but if you go a block over, it's only part of the day they can get towed or ticketed, you know? I think if you have it consistent, because Unity's right there and there's already a policy for that one, I think you should keep them the same,
Which is,
whatever the
So
hours
I
were.
might be backwards on that, because I'm just looking at our ordinances along Unity, the south side of Unity Boulevard, with the exception for staging to pick up or drop off students. So that's the opposite. You can park there during those hours, right? So it's gonna be the actual opposite. Because that was the fire department's concern, but then the compromise to allow people to park, park during the drop off and that time. So you can park on the south side of Unity during the time we don't want them to park on Third Avenue.
We're gonna confuse them.
Does that make sense?
No parking anytime then
That might
on
be-
Third, okay.
Yeah. And it might, because I was trying to see if any of the ordinance, because technically, you can park up to that intersection because there's no crosswalk there, right? So you could park, and we had, that resident that's right on the south side was really good to deal with. They, for a couple of years ago, they had a sign in their front yard.
Slow. On
No, but
those-
they had it, and it was hard to see, just the intersection blocking there. We talked to them, and they just moved it. They're really good. But in theory, you could have a car park there, because there's no crosswalk right there, and just for the visibility of that intersection as well.
Just go no parking.
Yep.
Period.
Okay,
Then it solves the problem.
If you could reach out, it wouldn't hurt to reach out to those two. It's only 2 letters, just to make sure. I mean, would we have to have a public hearing on something like that? No? Okay, so I think we should just send them a courtesy letter anyways. See if they have heavy kickback.
The one on the north, I know is rental unit, so we could,
oh,
who do you reach out to? The
Right.
owner?
I guess it,
The west occupant? You know, 'cause
and
there's
then
two
that
occupants.
occupant isn't gonna have it's,
Sure.
I don't even know if it does reach out to them. I don't think it's probably not gonna matter to them. They probably prefer no parking because if they see somebody parking out there, they think something shady's going on.
Sure.
right.
So it might be more benefit to them not to have parking there.
It's side parking for both those houses, so yeah, just go no parking on the whole street.
I have one last question. So so long as there's space available, are the spots in the school, are those available to the public, or are those only for staff? Or is that where they're supposed to park for drop-off and pickup?
So they have, in theory, that they come down Third Avenue, drop off in front of the building, and then exit out that exit only with the one-way turn.
Okay.
On the west side of that parking lot. So that's how they, like, when they drop off without walking their kids in, they're supposed to get, they're in a big line. And that, if you've seen that line backs up
Yeah.
to Sandy Parkway.
Yep, all the way, to the
And
sledding
past
hill.
and wrapped
Yep,
around.
I've seen it.
And so they get in line there and then work their way down and then go through that little channel in front of the school there. Because they used to have it the opposite at one time, where the pickup was in the back, but yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
okay. So that sounds good on E7. We'll move on to E8, the community center fee discussion.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As staff was looking into adding Wi-Fi services for renters of the ICC, staff looked deeper at the costs and revenue of the ICC. Staff was also directed by council to add block scheduling to allow for more defined rental times. Hours for the blocks recommended by staff are 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Attached, you will see the spreadsheet shared at a previous meeting outlining the annual costs to operate the ICC as well as the revenue. Staff is recommending an increase in fees overall for the ICC. Fees have not been increased since 2013. Staff has included comparable fees from neighboring communities with similar facilities. The updated rental agreement as well as the current fee ordinance have also been provided. The cost of adding Wi-Fi services equates to $275 on average per rental. Staff is looking for direction on the rental rates council would like to see implemented and when. Once a consensus is reached, the updated ordinance will be posted for 10 days prior to the next city council meeting to be considered for adoption. Upon implementation, all rentals will be made via DaySmart moving forward.
Thank you. So I had done some rough numbers on this. I would love to see if we could come up with the pricing strategy that offsets all of the expenditure, all of the yearly costs of operating, and then the only thing that taxpayers would be responsible for is, capital improvement 920. Eventually, we're gonna have to update the building or replace the building, so that's gonna have to be, taxpayer driven, otherwise the cost per rental will be through the roof. So right now, I believe last meeting we'd said it was used roughly 20 times per month on average, is that correct?
Yes.
And then so that's 240 times per year. and I did the rough math, rough average is $65 per rental. Obviously, some pay more, some pay less, nonprofit versus nonprofit. And assuming if we use the block schedules, we can hopefully increase usage about another 30%, is the number that I figured. So that would be, roughly 300 rentals per year. At 300 rentals per year, the average break-even rental price would be around $130 if we wanted to cover the operating expenses around $40,000 per year. I don't know if that's feasible, or if it's too high. Obviously, we don't want to increase it a lot, but at the same time, how much taxpayer burden do we put on that versus on the people actually using it? So that's kind of the numbers that I had done.
What are we at right now?
It depends. So it depends what you are. The average is $65 per rental, average. Now, obviously, the break-even price at 130 is a little higher than what I would expect, but at the same point, it's a pretty decent-sized facility for the money, I think, with the full-size kitchen, and, yeah,
I'd say we bring it up to $100
on average.
on average, and I still think we need to, there again, nonprofit, I think we need to keep that. That nonprofit is huge for our aging community.
Right.
I think we should put it up to $100. Let's go from there and see how it plays out for us.
Well, a nonprofit for 4 hours is like $25.
Yeah.
So what would you want to increase that to? 30? Or would you want to do, I don't think 100,
No.
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 but I would try to keep the nonprofits, increase it a little bit, but
Maybe
I like
30,
the-
35,
yeah,
make it up to
35.
35.
35.
35 for the nonprofits
and
and,
I would rather have large parties, private parties,
Pay
pay
more.
more. 'Cause
Right.
I think last time we looked at that, it was pretty cheap.
It's really cheap.
but I think even if you went 100, 120 on that, and leave the nonprofits at that 35, I don't know where you could rent anything for 120 bucks.
Right, especially with the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is that per 4 hour, that you guys wanna charge that? If you, if you look right now, a private event with less than 50 people is $100 for the full day. Or 4 hours, is $50. Do you think that's enough? We could break it down by category.
How many organizations or companies or whatever actually rent more than one time a month to get this fee break?
We only have a couple that do that right now that we have contracts with. Jessica, do you know?
I think senior citizens is one of them, isn't it? No?
Senior dining is no longer there.
Okay.
So we have the Lions, and then I believe the Boy Scouts are the only two.
Okay, then we keep those fees the same for now as far as discounts for more, because it sounds like both of them are both nonprofits.
There's a lot of small groups that use that community center,
Right.
and I like to keep that going.
And what's the average that they're renting it for the full day?
Right. Most of them rent it for the full day. Like, we're not getting a lot of 4-hour rentals most of the time, sometimes in the evening, but most of them are renting it for the full day, which is why we really wanted to look into the block scheduling, was just because we're feeling like if we can set those hours, we can open it up for more groups to be able to rent it on a Saturday, if
What
it's
is
a
it,
nonprofit.
what did you say now, it is a full day right now?
It depends. The private event, less than 50 people is $100, private event more than 50 is $275.
I think you should, the whole thing is that they're renting it for the whole day because they don't wanna, so what happens if they go over 4 hours? They're just gonna pay the full day. I think maybe we should push it at that, maybe say 125 for 4 hours and then double it for the full day. So it'd be 250 for the full day, right? So if you got 10 people in there, do they make just as much mess as 50 people? You can,
Yeah, all right.
Depending on what you, if it's raining outside and they got about 5 kids and they're running in and out of the mud and it's just getting messy, I honestly, I don't think that 10 people are gonna make just as much mess as 20 people.
And we do require, unless they request it, for them to clean up after themselves. So that's
Yep.
part of the rental.
I think you double the full day and do that 125, 120, 125 for 4 hours.
And then if staff could keep really close eye on this over the next 6 months to see if we're actually losing business because of the fee increase, because we are real close to being competitive with other community centers in the area.
So we're booking up already for this year, like this will be easier for us to tell for 2026.
Okay.
A lot of these events get booked a year in advance.
Okay.
And so whenever you implement the fees or whatever you decide, if you want to have that starting date, from that point on, if it's immediately, then it'll be depending on if we move forward at the April 1st meeting without any changes to the ordinance, then it would be April 10th that will implement these new fees. Every rental that point moving forward will get
Right.
those fees.
Sounds good.
But, you can choose the date, it's up to you guys, but if that's what you're choosing, we probably won't see the change in it until next January.
Sure, that sounds fair.
That's probably, I think maybe we should look at, maybe do some kicking around a little bit and seeing what, maybe somebody can ask somebody what would they pay for this thing? We got time till January, but if we did this by September, August, September, we could still implicate that change in January.
But the stuff will be booked out already by then.
Yeah, so the sooner the better for us to, but it's just everyone moving forward. So our recommendation is that if you've already booked it for next September this year, because you're getting married and you wanted to know 18 months in advance, you would pay that fee still. So this fee, $275 for that wedding. But if you book, if we implement these and they're implemented on April 10th, if you book for that same date next year, you would get the new fees. So you could have one person the next day paying more just for the first year until it's
Sure.
implemented.
Luke, what did you say your fee then would be for a wedding with the new fees?
So, we haven't talked about that specifically, but, if I'm just gonna go down the list here, so right now, private event of less than 50 people is $100 for the full day. I would propose $170 for the full day, or $85 for 4 hours or less. Basically, that's, you buy 2 blocks, you get 1 free kind of deal. So on that one,
Can that private event also include a wedding?
so a private event with a wedding's likely gonna be more than 50, so that's a different category if you look at the
Not
chart.
necessarily, but it
Well,
could be.
it could be, yeah.
We have generally kept weddings and events open to the public are separate in that larger group, just because of the amount of decorations
Sure.
and liability that comes along with a wedding.
So
And so
it's-
that's why that's labeled under that larger group.
Okay. And the
So-
cost of that is right now
$275.
$275?
And I would propose to see that at, I said 375, but I don't know if that's too steep. I think Bram was it 600 to rent the Bram facility, which is much larger and much nicer?
It is.
But, at the same point, where do we bring up the average to sort of, so it pays for itself?
There was like 150 weddings a year.
Huh?
How many weddings per year was there?
I-
That was-
Did you ever give us that number? I
That
don't
was
think you
every
gave us.
Friday, Saturday, and some
We
Sundays.
did have that in our list of numbers. I thought I had that.
It can't be that high with the average rental price right now only being $65.
So what,
Dollars. The average, if you combine all the nonprofits with the private events, if you do the math and do 240 rentals per year divided by the, what was it, 20,000 you bring in, or 18,000, or whatever it was only $68 per rental on average that we receive. So that would imply that most of these are either nonprofits or private events of less than 50 people for probably 4 hours or less. So the weddings can't be that huge, unless they're getting by with the wedding for the small private event of less than 50 and only paying 100.
And we could just be their last chance. They've already called around to all the good.
There's a
venues
lot
they
of
want,
places,
and
yeah. There's a lot of people that say that even ours is too full. You know, I've heard many complaints about that. Josie, have you heard that too? Like, how are you full already? So that, I mean, supply and demand here. If we have more customers than we have availabilities, the price is low.
That is why, number one, staff recommended doing block scheduling, because we do have people, because the price is so affordable, which is great. I also, one of the biggest benefits in when I rented it myself is that you can bring your own food in.
Right.
That is very hard to find these days because of the liability, and they make you go with a caterer. But what they do is, people sometimes, not everybody, I'm generalizing, is they book the whole day, even if they didn't need it for the whole day. You know, so making them either buy 3 blocks at a time, I think will increase the availability and make people, you know, keep those smaller events. Could be just a meeting, but for a little bit more money, just take it for the whole day. I feel like that happens quite often.
Right. And that's where I did some analysis on that. I think we're gonna see 30% higher usage numbers by going to the block schedule.
Can you finish going on, so you started with the private event, less than
Yep.
50, so do the nonprofit, what do you have?
So the nonprofit I had at $75 for a full day and $35 for 4 hours or less. I think that's a very good price myself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's not much
okay with
increase,
that?
not much
It
increase at all.
pays for the extra internet service, but
Right.
You
That,
okay with
sorry,
that?
30 or 35?
75 for the full day and 35 for the 4 hour. I mean, I don't think the $10 increase is gonna make or break.
Yeah.
And then for the wedding, I had calculated, like I said, my numbers say $375 per rental, but I don't know if that's unfeasible or not. I mean, to me, if you can bring in your own food, you know, the food is the most important, most expensive part of a wedding,
When
usually.
we drop it, how many weddings, did we get an answer how many we're doing? Well, it doesn't matter because it's considered a private event, so it's,
It can't be that many, though, based on just the average.
It would matter towards recovering the difference between income versus expenses.
A
Right.
lot of
That's
people
what I was
try
trying to
to
figure out.
sneak under that full day for a small group, and so we try to vet them out as best we can.
Right.
But a lot of people do try to sneak under that for that cheaper rate.
I know of one for sure that did that, so.
I'm okay with 350 or 375 if you want to go up that high.
That's where my numbers put us. I don't know if anybody else has any other additions.
It just said very few people were charged the full $275 amount. Most were charged $100. And so now with our new system and stuff and having things in place, hopefully we'll be catching that more frequently.
Sure.
With our policies as well, we're also planning on, if you looked at the policies yet, whatever you rented it for, that's how many chairs will be available for you. So right now,
yes.
there's an open use of chairs. It's like, we have 210 chairs. I think we have 100 chairs that are stacked and available for you. So if you have 50 people, you get 100 chairs. So it's easy for you to have that larger event. But now we're gonna be locking up those chairs and only making them available to rentals that actually are renting for that amount of people. So with a few straggling chairs, just if they have a check-in table or whatever. But so, and an extra table or two, but not full reign on all of the chairs. Not only for that, to keep our renters, you know, renting for the amount that they're supposed to be, but also for reduced use on those, that wear and tear of those chairs and tables, because that is a continuous thing we're seeing happening. So we can be more mindful of who actually is, you know, ruining that table.
Sure.
What reservation was it?
And just to clarify for anyone that's listening, the reason that we are increasing the prices of the rental is so the burden isn't put on taxpayers. Because taxpayers aren't all using the event center, the people that rent it are using the event center, so they should pay more to use it. So taxpayers aren't hit as hard with it.
And what's the difference? What was the number? So we brought in.
Difference between expenses versus income?
Yep.
26,000?
So we're trying to recoup the 26,000 is the best.
Extra.
The best that we can.
So the average rental price would have to be around $130 per rental. I don't know, unless we really enforce the private event, like for the weddings, we're never gonna get to that number unless we actually enforce it. It's impossible without the bigger income items, and then you might see a reduction in amount of rentals. So it's kind of a balance, you know?
You don't want to enforce upon the nonprofits either. You're trying to get,
Oh, right, no, the nonprofits would be
right.
this, yeah.
Well, just, let's go with these new prices, reevaluate it after we get a full year in and a full year of reservations and see what the need is. But let's not jump up too high on them. And, the city's obviously looking at this, been subsidizing the community center forever.
Right.
And I remember discussions years ago. Steve, you had to have been on council when there's been some discussions about the community center.
Been a lot of things discussed about the community center.
Right.
But I mean, if you look at, we haven't had an increase for so many years.
12 years.
It's time that, it's due time that we do.
I agree.
Could you just let, we have them written down, go over the private
Yep.
small group again, numbers? I just didn't get, I want to.
So the private event for a full day, I suggested $170, and then for the 4 hour or less, $85. The nonprofit, a full day, $75. The 4 hour, $35. And then the private event open to public and private event greater than people would be $375. Now, I don't know how often those types of events are 4 hours or less. Is that, I know we have it as NA in there now, but is that something that,
We don't allow that just because of the
Cleanup?
cleanup.
Okay.
Would be to, and if we do get, if they do require cleaning services, it's just not feasible for.
okay, makes
Do you
sense.
think we're off base on these?
I actually think it's interesting because if you look at the 25% increase that was proposed, so if we did a 25% increase, which would mean we've raised it 3% every year, it's not far off from that. So I don't think it's off base by any means.
I say we go with it and evaluate, and like George said,
Yeah.
after a full year, see what the numbers are.
Yep, after next year.
Sounds good. And if for some reason these prices seem like people aren't even renting at all,
Let us
like, just
know.
let us know. But based on the research I did, I think those are pretty good numbers. All right, any other discussion on E8? Okay, E9, liquor license process. Travis, that one's you?
Yeah, all right, Mayor and Council, the last one, but it'll actually be quick, though.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Just bringing this up to the council for discussion and see your appetite on it, then we'll move forward there. I don't have a lot of information on it, but what it is, I'm gonna be sending officers to responsible beverage server training, because the state finally got grant funded for it. They've been trying to do it for a long time. And so our officers will then be able to do a 12-hour training, hour and 40 minutes, for the responsible beverage training, which talks about the laws, the liability issues, the signs of impairment, and how that plays out as far as beverage servers. So some of the cities are intertwining that into their liquor licenses, like requiring the licensee to attend those trainings, requiring a certain percentage of their server staff. There's even cities that are requiring all their server staff, which I think is excessive. So just wanted to bring that idea up, if there's any thought of that. We just did the liquor licenses now, so we'd have time to think about that process, and I can do more research on it. I just don't want to spend a lot of time if it wasn't something council thought was beneficial. I mean, I see the benefit of trying to teach, have some responsible server training, and tying it to a liquor license could help force those entities that serve alcohol have some of that training.
Can you look into the cost it would be, and
Right.
also if there's an online class?
Well,
maybe
there
they
is
could-
online classes, but they're
Okay.
they're private vendors that teach their own thing. So there's no standardized training. Because I got that, but the state has a training they're providing, but they're only providing that to law enforcement. To then be the face, which makes sense, to have that interaction. So there is no standardized, I mean, you could require your liquor people to do that, but you could then go home and create your own online server training, because there's no standardized server training. So that's kind of the downfall for that. So there's no cost, and I'm gonna send some of my officers to that anyway, when they have it up here. There's no cost to the city to do it. So at minimum, we'll have it as an option type thing, but my thought is, I do see some benefit in somehow tying that as a requirement for those licensees somehow.
So,
I was gonna
Just-
say, I feel like our Our establishments do a pretty good job with that. We don't have a lot of issues with them serving people that are overly intoxicated, do we?
We don't know. Sometimes, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we do have some.
Okay.
So would they sit down actually with, like you?
Correct. So what, once our officers go to training, their trainer, they will go to and train servers that serve either off sale or on sale or bar type situations, and train the people that are serving and selling this product with the laws, the legal requirements, what's the law say, what's the civil potential issues, and then signs of impairment and how to deal with people that are impaired when you're, and what your responsibility is.
And we could offer this free to the businesses?
Correct.
I like the idea,
I do
because you
too.
know what, they get to actually work closer with law enforcement, get an idea what they're all about, and plus get some update on how state is running regulation. It doesn't mean they have to use it at all, but
Like I said, we're gonna do that at minimum offer it, right? Because I think that's a benefit to the community. The only question I had is, do you want me to look more into what other cities are doing as far as requirement? I mean, requiring the applicant to attend the training, or a representative, or somehow, or percentage, or, there's different opportunities out there, so.
I guess I'd look to see what other communities are doing on that. I don't see it being a problem for, say, you to go into one of your officers to go into the VFW on off hour and sit down with their staff and go through this for them before they come and renew their license. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think
I don't either.
it might even help them
Yes.
for insurance purposes, because, I mean, that insurance is the killer.
I like the outreach, and, we can talk to them. Too bad that meeting just came up where we renewed everybody's license, because they were all here, and we could have had that discussion at that time and talked to them about it, but
And that's part of it. I mean, I can reach out to, because we don't have that many.
sure,
I
we
can reach
don't.
out to them individually.
And they're all good people.
So how many, I just think, how many hours roughly do you think that would be would that be 1 hour per business, 20 hours per business?
No,
or-
so the training itself is under 2 hours,
Okay,
right? So that's the training. So then it's what model of training do you want to do? Do you want to go to these establishments and do it? Do you want to have it at a city venue once a quarter, right? Those are the things we can figure out, and that's what I'm trying to, I'm gonna send some people to that, because I think there's a huge benefit on that. But then as far as a council, how far do you want to take that? As far as the requirement, do you want to have any requirements tied to the liquor licenses? And I can go do that research to see what other cities have. I do know other cities are way on crazy extremes where you can't serve alcohol until you've taken that training. But so I can look into that. I just don't want to put a lot of time into it if you
Right.
guys didn't have any interest in tying anything to the liquor license.
I think it'd be good, try and reduce DUIs, period.
Just
But how much
responsible
time?
piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the kind of community interaction I really like with, the police department and businesses, that, there can be problems at times, and I think the first year, we don't even look at tying it to a liquor license. I say you offer the program, see how people are receiving it, and then we get some input from the owners to see if they think it should be mandatory. Because they might get enough useful information out of it, they'd be like, yeah, yearly training would be great. It helps us, our staff, and I don't know. I say we at least try it for a year and then go from there. Well, does that sound fair?
Yeah, and again, I'll bring it back once we actually get certified type thing, but just something to think about. How do you want to present that? Do you want to actually present that officer to each one of those establishments that applied for a license and do it there? Or have a quarterly thing? So we don't need that answer right now, it's just something to think about.
Sure.
To go forward with it.
Okay.
Like I said, we are gonna have some officers get certified once they actually get that, so we're doing that no matter what, because I do think there's a benefit behind that.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks,
All right.
Travis.
Yeah, thank you. Old business, sidewalk infill along Whiskey Road. I see staff is looking for some direction on this. What do we got?
So during the goal-setting meeting, it was discussed that this is an area of concern of the council, is to fill in this missing segment of sidewalk. I did include in the packet the 2016 infill study, the 2019 infill study, and then a 2024 memo that was written to council, sharing about bringing the sidewalk up to, level with the county road on the shoulder. So just looking for what is council's direction on, to do next on this.
Is there anything we can do without being aggressive? I don't think there's really anything else we can do, is there?
No.
No, I mean, I think the
Yeah.
county doesn't want us to get it up to road level. We're kind of stuck until it's one person.
Yep.
It's one person there that is holding this whole thing up.
Well, we currently do watch to see if there's a home that sells in that area that we would, know that there's a new owner in there, that potentially we would reach out to them. Otherwise, the only other option that I think is something to consider, which council has previously not expressed interest, would be a taking.
How about, I thought about this many times. How about if we were to fill the sidewalk up to his property and stopped it there? And then sooner or later, he's gonna wake up and say, really? I mean, his biggest concern was, we offered a fence. Build the fence for him, pay for the fence for him, maintain around the fence for him. Well, then it was come back and there's gonna be garbage in my yard. Well, I hate to tell you, I drive down the road and look in the ditch all along there, there's garbage in everybody's yard. I get people's garbage in my backyard when the wind blows, and it gets trapped inside my fence. There's nothing I can do about it, I mean, I just clean it up and I can't, I mean, it happens. That's just one of the other thoughts I had. Finish it up to that street,
A little bit of pressure.
and then finish from the other, from behind him, and the one other person that'll do whatever he says, offer them the fence and put their fence in, and he's gonna said, hey, we offered you the fence, you turned it down, now it's gonna cost you.
I agree with that.
While that could be an option, I just want to point out that doing the sidewalk section in sections.
Costs more
It's
money.
going to cost more money.
It will, it eventually, but it's not gonna cost any more than what we already have been sitting and putting in time and effort into this.
I agree.
I mean, we can always fill that in section in later when we got some other work being done some other time.
Also, if we do go that route, is there any way that we could put some sort of something on there so that if someone were to come buy this property, they know that there's gonna be a sidewalk in there, like a clause on the property, or
I
could,
don't think we can, because
Or the
he's the
county.
owner of the property.
To record something on their property, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask legal counsel if that's something that we can do just by request for if they sell it. I don't know that answer.
okay. It would just be unfortunate to get in a situation where someone bought it without a sidewalk, and then we have the same issue again. So I don't know if that's
Like-
something the county could,
My first thought is that we could potentially have the same problem again, because if we don't have the easement to it, we need someone to sell it to us, or we need to take it.
We even offered
The
to buy it
next
from him.
property owner will have that right as well.
We offered to buy it to him, we offered to give him tax credit. We've gone, trust me, above and beyond. And this goes back to 3 mayors ago.
right?
Yes.
So it goes way back. It's not something that's just been a dead issue.
Right,
It's because 3 mayors ago pissed off the owner.
sure.
And now he's dug his heels in.
I like the idea of finishing what's unfinished and just leaving that one open spot, because even to think about this, kids are more likely to walk that one area and then just walk in the grass right there instead of having to cross 14 times on a dangerous road to begin with. So I like that idea.
I mean, unfortunately, yes, it's gonna cost us more money later on, but at least we got that far.
Right, and is that a cost split on a sidewalk because it's a county road?
No, even on a county road, it's city sidewalk.
Solely.
So-
So even on Heritage, it's city sidewalk.
Okay, well, that's something that I wasn't aware of. I got a complaint, last week about there's no sidewalk in front of the Isani AA. Did you see that on Facebook?
I did.
Okay, and I didn't realize that. I thought the county is their property.
It's their right of way.
It's their right of way, so they're not required to put in the sidewalk on their right of way?
No, we have an agreement with them that the city
Okay.
is able to put the sidewalk in.
Okay, well, that's something that I want to bring up another time then, because that needs to be added to the sidewalk infill. And I believe is there sidewalk missing also between, basically from the sledding hill all the way to BMX? Is that sidewalk missing as well? I think someone had mentioned that sidewalk is missing as well.
It's a
Yeah, we
grass
don't have a
walkway.
sidewalk along I-70 Parkway between Third and the railroad tracks. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but yeah, there's no sidewalk there, but it's a park,
Okay.
so.
Someone
I guess
mentioned
I
it, and I
wouldn't
thought I'd
put
bring it
that too
up.
high on the priority list.
Okay.
It's pretty flat.
But the other one, the one along, Heritage in front of I-70 AA, because that's, I mean, a lot of kids are probably gonna walk that already, you would think, with the school over there.
Dude, there was supposed to be a bridge coming across by your
I
house
know,
at a cost of us
I know.
$2 million.
Yep. So if we can add that, but I don't know how you guys feel about doing with the sidewalk that we can do right now on Whiskey and then just leaving the one open. And hopefully, maybe he'll think about it and
Do you recall which property was the one with?
I'm not gonna
Eight-
mention his name
Yeah.
right now.
824.
Okay, just to make sure.
You know which one it
Because
is?
what I'll
Yep.
do is I'll have engineering rework some numbers of what it would take before and after, wherever that falls, and report back.
Because I could see him. I know the guy, know him personally. I could just see him. He sees that stuff happening and he's just gonna go live it. And there ain't nothing he can do about it.
So you're trying to push his buttons?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, trust me.
So we plan this in next year's budget, or?
I would say we see what the costs are and
Go from
go
there.
from there, yeah, one step at a time.
With fixing the trails on Whiskey, is there anything going to be done on South Passage in Whiskey? Is that being tracked at all?
As far as sidewalks,
It starts from a sidewalk and then it just stops and ends up being part of the road at the turn lane?
That Whiskey, that's, because that's a bike trail right there. That's ribboned off.
I know we're doing a total
I know what you're
reconstruct
talking
on that.
about. I go through it every day. It's painted off where that turn lane is. There is a designated sidewalk area along that turn lane.
It's pretty narrow.
But that's
It's no narrower than the sidewalk is.
that's scheduled for a total reconstruct in 2026, correct? And that would probably include South Passage. That would include a sidewalk plan, I would think, at that point. I would hope.
I'm
can
more,
double check
I'd be more
Yeah.
concerned about Railroad Avenue from Main
Yeah,
Street
that's a
all the way
bad one,
down to
too.
the VFW before I'd be worried about that corner.
And that's slated for 2026 as well.
The South Passage reconstruct, but
So is the,
like I said, they merge, they start off separate and they merge in, so I wasn't sure if during that reconstruct, if that was gonna be cleaned up or left as is.
we would definitely talk about that with design engineering at the time.
Okay.
I don't think it's worth it to do it now because we're gonna be totally reconstructing in a year anyway, so that's when you.
Okay.
But definitely bring that up when we start talking about that. Okay. So we'll get some numbers on that. Could that be part of the analysis too with the cost on the Main Street sidewalk that we had talked about, I assume? They're both sidewalks.
I'm sure I'll bring both costs back at the same meeting.
Okay,
I'll shoot for April cow, but
okay. Sounds good. F2, bullet resistant barrier at City Hall. Has there been any update on that?
all right, so I've collected some information, reached out to another vendor. What I have is a table provided within the memo that shares the vendor and then what were some of the options. So Star Quality Glass out of Cambridge was able to provide a bullet-resistant barrier for the front opening. I do have an image if you're interested in what it would be. We did partition it, and we didn't have the material go all the way to the top of the block because I wanted to make sure that we could have good hearing of people, of customers. That was the one thing that was a concern for staff up front, is that we want to make sure we can hear people. Plus having the glass that has the opening, so you can speak through and the noise travels through that. So they were the cheapest at $12,101.54 to put that together. That included installation. They also did provide and had the ability to do the glass film that we had discussed at previous meetings. That was $975 for 6 panels.
Total, so,
That's
or is that
$950
each?
for 6 panels or per panel?
For 6 panels,
Okay.
and they did measure. Then one thing that I was appreciative of this vendor, they were able to come out, really look at what we had, provide some options, and we both worked together what that would be the best. There's some notes there for that one, and then we have Safewood Designs. This was provided by, through Chief Myers and Mike Becker. I'm not sure which one, ended up discussing it fully with them, but they had two different options. One of them was to leave a center pane open, which I don't recommend, because then bodies are easily able to go over it, and why not make it ultimately safer? The cost was $23,820, because their original quote didn't include install. Their install was $9,700 and some rounding. And then option two was the $19,500. They had the glass film at $6,060 per door window. Now, I believe that they were also putting a new safer door, and maybe Chief, you can say on that. There wasn't just a window film, but I didn't have that number in their quote with just the film. So theirs also gave a safer door.
I don't even know if that was the film. I think they were just the ballistic windows and door.
Okay, so that's why that cost is so much higher. And then Sun Control was another vendor that Mike had reached out to. They did not provide a quote for the resistant opening up front, but they did do the glass film at $1,298.
Is there, so, Star Quality Glass, I was actually here in the office when they came, and they did spend a lot of time here, and I really appreciated that. I think their quote is good. You know, if we're leaving, say, did you say how big a gap, like 10 inches or?
I believe it's 10 inches.
Okay, so if we're leaving a 10-inch gap, I don't necessarily know that we need to spend the money for bullet-resistant polycarbonate, because if you're gonna shoot at, you know, a level that you're gonna wanna shoot at. You're gonna wanna shoot at arm's length, which is, you know, you're not gonna point up to where there's polycarbonate, you're just gonna shoot through that 10-inch gap. So I don't know that it's
Wait, the
necessary.
10 inches at the top.
Oh, it's not at the bottom?
Nope, that's at the top. So to get noise to come through, it's from the top of the block
Yep.
down 10 inches, and
Yep.
then the polycarbonate starts.
So the polycarbonate's all the way down to the.
All the way down,
Okay,
except for
okay.
small openings, which the openings are a 12 by 6 inch opening.
Okay, I thought you were having a 10-inch on the top and the bottom.
No.
Okay,
No, the
okay,
bottom is 6 inches and only 12 inches wide.
got
And
it.
I didn't have them cut into the counter to save cost, so it's cutting the polycarbonate. And there is a polycarbonate door that swings closed.
Okay,
So if you're not using that window, like a lot of times we don't use the north side window opening unless we have another customer come, so we can leave that closed when we're not utilizing it.
do you know what the rating is on that polycarbonate for impact resistance? Is it level 2, I assume?
It's 3/4 inch thickness. I'm not aware what the level is on it.
Okay.
Is
Thoughts?
this something you wanna pull the trigger on?
Nice joke.
Well, I'm just telling you, this has been in discussion for
Oh, I know it has.
6 years.
I know it has.
It's been a discussion going on for 6 years. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, if we're gonna do it, it's gonna go up and up and up. Because if we would've done something 6 years ago, it'd probably have been half of that. And that's what I said, pull the trigger, that's what I meant. I
Yeah.
wasn't pun intended with the
I thought it was a pun.
No. I mean, is this something that you really wanna do?
And I do want to also add, if I could, because we're not going all the way to the top of the block and keeping that open the 10 inches so the volume, noise can go through, there will need to be partitions put up, and that's part of the quote, that's not in addition, but just so if you looked at it and you didn't want to see bars, let me know, because then we would need to go all the way up to the block for security to hold it.
I don't think the bars is a big deal up there.
Nope.
I personally, I think I'd rather use Star Glass because they're a very local company. And I think they've done a great job for a lot of people in the area, not just for this, but any glass work. That's my opinion.
Thoughts, guys? You guys are awfully quiet on this one.
I'll
I
tell you
don't
what,
remember the discussion. I know I asked this question when we discussed this one time about. Does anybody have any information where somebody tried to shoot windows out at City Hall in a small town like this?
but I'm gonna tell you right now, Jimmy Gordon was in here when there was an irate customer.
I remember that, yeah, I heard
And-
that story.
And he even himself said he was afraid for them.
Well, then,
And that's all it takes, is that one.
Well, then let's do it.
And there was also discussion about 8, 9 years ago about having bulletproof panels in front of us.
I got
Which I think
sandbags
is,
here.
I think that is a little more extreme.
Right,
Because there's nobody there protecting those girls in there during the day. Where there is always an officer in here when we're in a meeting. And plus, there's enough of us that do have permits to carry that we're in here that we'd be fine. So, I mean, going to this extreme is a little different. I think that's a completely different story.
I agree. I think I would like to see us get it done.
let's get it done.
Nick, what do you think?
I would rather, I don't know what to say about it. I've not worked in that situation, but from a citizen view, when it's like a fortress, it just, I don't understand without a viable threat, what, as a person who's not dangerous to the public, when I go into a place, I'm treated like I am. I don't like the vibe, but
Well,
if there's
go to the
a,
courthouse.
what's that?
Go to the courthouse. You
I don't-
can't, you can't even carry a little penknife with you. I mean, and there's a reason for that. And there hasn't had that issue there yet. But there has been communities this size that have had shootings in their city halls. And I never believed it until I seen the video with Jimmy. That was one scary situation. And all it takes is one unstable individual to come in unhinged, and we have a major problem. And I don't think you want to be the one that's going to get the phone call that City Hall's been shot up.
I'm not advocating for that.
Just anecdotally, I can think of 2 municipal shootings that took place. One was in a suburban metro, one was outstate. Both of those, the person that shot, the underlying frustration or anger towards the city or county was property issues.
Right.
It wasn't like a crazy murder going, it was property issues that was the underlying factor.
And I'll be honest with you, there's one person, he's passed away now, he knows who I'm referring to. He'd have been one that he was actually removed from the Iceni County Courthouse. He was never to step foot in there unless it was to pay his property taxes, and also in Sasago County, because he was nothing but was a nut job. You know who I'm talking about. And he was one that would very well, you would never know from one day to the next if he'd be in here with a gun.
So,
But I'm just saying, it's a very vile thing.
can you explain to me what it would look like? Because we do not have any pictures, and I'm changing the
If
vibe
I
is,
could approach the dais, I do
Yeah.
have an image.
Of course. It's pretty simple.
okay. And they would be mirrored, or you wouldn't be able to see through?
No,
or-
these are clear.
That's just for the front, that's just for the front desk. So
But it's
it's,
bulletproof film.
it's
So
a
we're really
three,
not changing the vibe at all.
no.
Well,
It's not as open.
it does create a barrier between you and the person that you're talking to. There is a clear, it's not glass, but polycarbonate clear barrier.
Okay.
So that's just fixed in there.
Yeah.
This is fixed, but these are the bars that I'm talking about, because this doesn't go all the way up to the block. So then these are the 2 openings.
So are the bars,
Where
Past
that-
your
now I
build
get
through
it.
your payment through.
are the bars gonna go all the way to the ceiling then, or are they going to a top that has a cross?
I believe the bars are going to the top.
And then all the way to the countertop?
All the way to the ceiling?
To the top of the block.
Yep, okay,
Like the
yes,
block
yep,
opening
yep.
to the
And,
counter.
and then they go all the way down to the counter, which is no different than what you already have when they have the sliding glass in there anyway.
Correct.
So you're still gonna see
I
that.
imagine
That's
it's
where I
vastly
was-
similar. I haven't seen exactly what the bars look like, but I imagine it'll be similar.
And very similar to that, I don't.
It'll be thicker than what's there if you want it to be actually strong. It's gonna have to be steel or a very thick extruded aluminum. But, yeah, I don't think it's gonna feel wrong
I don't know,
myself.
personally, I think I think our residents would be understanding that, personally, there's a lot of people that think there's a lot of people that are unstable in this world. I mean, and
There's-
not just, I think they'd understand that expenditure more so than some of the others.
I think there's been plenty of experience here to justify it too, so.
Yep. And like I said, I didn't think nothing of it until Jimmy showed me that video, and it was not pretty.
Well, it sounds like we have a consensus to go ahead and do it.
Okay, so I will be putting this on the next city council meeting, April 1st. It'll be by resolution because it's an unbudgeted expense, and then have a funding source identified as well.
Okay?
Sounds good. So that is everything. Guess we got goals there, but those are, you know, kind of ongoing. Is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Otherwise, I'll hear
A
a
motion to adjourn.
If I could add
Yep.
one thing?
Yeah.
So the goals, sometimes I've got a couple people who are confused that those were discussion items. I directed Ms. Strand, the city clerk, to add maybe in parentheses or something, we're still vetting it out. It just came to me today about ongoing discussion points, but sometimes people think they're being all discussed tonight, and so it's confusing. So I'd like to just clarify that with a statement, so you'll see that probably at the next committee meeting agenda.
Okay. Sounds good. Anything else from anybody?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Lundin, second from Commissioner, or is it Councilmember for this one? Councilmember, and the second from Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.
Who motioned and seconded that?
Lundin and Holmgren.